Edgelords, one of the most overdone and uncool groups because they try so hard to be cool and mysterious. There's a steep difference between a genuinely cool, dark character and an edgelord. But at what point does a dark character become self-parody? This is the tale of a weird nerd going insane and crying when his edgelord is killed. Trust me, this is the craziest story we've done all year. This is the tale of Malus Creed. But first, let's thank today's sponsor for making this video possible. For me, the hardest part of doing almost anything is just getting started doing it. If that's true for you, these cards are a great tool. Storymaker is an 81 card deck that brings together various elements to create roleplay scenarios from scratch. There are 6 different categories, including action, allies, hooks, subjects, threats, and bonuses to spice the pot. The deck can be used in any setting, but there is also a horror and occultism deck with more spooky content. At that point, all the DM has to do is use a little inspiration, connect the dots, and boom, adventure awaits. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't want to buy materials that can harm the environment. I don't know much about that, but Shell does. Tell him. Alright, back under the rug with you. Anyways, if you want some of that free-flowing inspiration in a deck, click the funny link in the description. This story began on Facebook. I was looking for a group in my city, and that's where I found one. The group seemed great. The DM put it all together. He had the coolest mini collection, a whole shelf of books, and actual 3D printed terrain. And his wife had homemade food for the whole party. Her and the party bard had a habit of getting together before everybody else to prepare food. It was mind-blowing to me that a group like this would need to turn to Facebook to find players. But there I was. I felt a little out of place though, because when I showed up, everybody else was cosplaying their characters, while I was cosplaying a balding man in his 30s wearing a Black Veil Bride's shirt. Enter Malus Creed. He seemed like a nice enough guy when I met him. He didn't talk too much, but that's okay. After an hour or so of socializing, the game began. The party was in the middle of a prison break, so myself and Malus were introduced as prisoners that the existing party meets. I introduced my character, Tinest, a half-elf rogue arrested for yet another robbery. But this is his umpteenth time behind bars. He's scheduled to be hanged. Then, Malus Creed introduces his character.
Malus Creed, dwarf hexblade, sits in his cell. 2 red eyes glow from the eye slits in his helmet. He refuses to say why he's imprisoned.
The DM immediately said, "Wait, his helmet? There's no helmet. This is prison. He can't have any armor or weapons."
Anytime somebody tried to remove his armor, they instantly died of a heart attack. So they just put him in prison with it on.
No, that never happened. He's wearing a prisoner's tunic like everybody else. Anyways, this is the correct handling by the DM. Shut it down and move on. Let the player correct their behavior, but draw a firm line in the sand. Obviously, the player will not correct themselves, but it's important to give them a chance to, given that they haven't done anything too heinous. Still though, we can already see the player being divorced from reality, and we're just a couple minutes in. The DM then describes the rest of the party, and they all get their chances to roleplay. We have a few exchanges and everything goes pretty well. But then they tried to talk to Malus. They tried to ask him why he's in prison, but he said he isn't about to trauma dump. Any other questions about who he is were met with short, condescending responses. The druid keeps a pet squirrel, so she instructed her squirrel to go get the prison keys. He listened and dutifully ran towards them, and right past Malus. "I stomped the squirrel," he says, which gets a resounding "what?" from everybody else. Dice are rolled, and yes, the squirrel gets crushed. The druid looks heartbroken. His response?
"I'm chaotic neutral. You can't control me. I'm an agent of chaos, like Heath Ledger. Try not to take it personally."
Hold up, full stop. He somehow managed to say 2 wildly untrue things in the span of 5 seconds. Chaotic neutral doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want. but it attracts all the wrong people. It makes me feel terrible for all the true chaotic neutrals that have to deal with these dummies. It's probably the most annoying player trend, but it's a stereotype for a reason, which is why if I'm playing with a total stranger, I take a chaotic neutral alignment as a red flag. Also, just the utter disrespect on Heath Ledger's name is disgusting. He's obviously referencing the Joker, but still, weird guy. As we were sneaking through the halls, he was caught up in talking about how he littered the halls with blood, and that he actually just allowed the guards to arrest him so they would stop annoying him. Then, our first encounter began. 3 guards caught us. A simple encounter.
"Get behind me," Malus said. "I enter my battle stance, 1 leg raised, 2 fists brandished like knives. My armor creaks as I prepare my attack."
No, your armor doesn't creak. Your armor doesn't exist because you're not wearing any armor, the DM said, more annoyed than he was before. Cue a 5-minute argument about how he is wearing armor. Eventually, Malus goes silent, so we just continue the encounter. It all goes well until one of the guards hits Malus, who starts another argument again, because he says he's wearing armor and shouldn't get hit because his AC is 17. It goes on and on until the DM threatens to kick him out. When Malus whines and mutters something about his armor magically disappearing, the game follows a basic formula from there. They roll stealth. If they succeed, they roleplay while sneaking. If they fail, a short battle breaks out. Bad becomes worse when the druid and bard start talking to each other. You see, the party split up. Me, Malus, and bard went one way. Druid and barbarian went the other way. While exploring, they started talking about the new guys. Us. "I don't like Malus," the druid said meekly. "Me neither, kid," the barbarian replied. "He killed Sniffles. We're with him now, but I don't know if I can work with him." "Don't look so sad. As soon as we're out of prison, I'll handle him." Smash that constipated look off his face. Malus loses it. He immediately interjects.
"He can't say that. That's party infighting. DM, stop them."
Everybody looks at him confused. The DM asks him what he means by that.
"He's clearly threatening me with PvP if I don't conform to his playstyle. Also, I don't have a constipated look on my face, and if I did, he couldn't tell because I'm wearing a helmet."
This petty baby squabble is exactly why edgelords are the funnest group to poke at. They're insecure, sensitive tryhards that blow up if their ego is touched, which is the opposite of cool. I love dark characters. I even love edgy characters like Estinian and Batman. But still, the trope is done wrong way more often than right. The DM is about to snap. He explains that none of that happened and once again threatens to kick him out. Malus then describes himself appearing in front of Barbarian.
"Take that back, or I'll kill you where you stand."
The DM doesn't even have time to respond before you can hear a loud thwack from across the table. The Barbarian sniped him with a water bottle in real life. "Shut up. I won't ask again nicely." Funny enough, the Barbarian is playing a gnome, but in reality, he is by far the biggest man at the table. He's built like a football player. Malus immediately falls silent. Time passes, and our half of the party gets an encounter.
"Back off, everyone. I'll handle the guards."
We tell him no, he cannot take 5 guards on his own. He just describes that he works alone and always has. He then goes into his backstory a bit.
"Ever since I was a child, I was a lone wolf. That's who I am, who I'll always be. Ever since I killed my own family in a fire. I'll never trust anyone to have my back. Ever."
The Barbarian interrupts Malus and rolls initiative. He rolls high and actually goes first. Malus just sighs and rolls with it. No, I say let him. He's inviting himself out of the game. Let the trash take itself out. If I were the Barbarian, I would just let it play out. I think that this is just a case of agitation. Everybody hates this guy, and rightfully so, but that makes them too focused on thwarting Malus instead of letting him destroy himself. It's sad, but worth it because we get a really good story out of it. Roll post. We clear the encounter without issue, regroup with the rest of the party, and then the halftime intermission begins. The DM calls the original party, Barbarian, Druid, and Bard, to another room, leaving just Malus and I at the table. I just scrolled my phone because honestly, I did not want to talk to Malus. Eventually, the rest of the party came back, and the DM pulled Malus aside to talk in private. I spent 20 minutes socializing and had a great conversation with Barbarian. Turns out, Druid is his daughter. You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at him because he looks so young, but his protectiveness of Druid makes a lot more sense now. Then, Malus and DM returned, and the game resumed. The party is now on top of the prison roof, where they take a short rest and try to come up with a plan. But every plan that's made gets shot down by Malus. He explains how all of them are flawed. Eventually, Barbarian asks him what his plan is, and he says he doesn't have one, but he does say,
"I don't need a right answer to know the wrong one. You're gonna get us all killed."
He then talked about how he doesn't trust anybody but himself, of course, and mentions again that his parents were all killed in a fire, but also that his first love betrayed him, and ever since then he doesn't trust anybody. Everybody kept steering the conversation back to planning, but he would occasionally point out flaws in their plans or describe how hopeless they are, but this time with the added anecdotes from his backstory, where we learn that he has several mental illnesses and a cursed bloodline that makes him stronger. Eventually, the party comes up with a plan. They will sneak out into the yard where they'll hide in shipping boxes and smuggle themselves out. Malus reluctantly agrees, but he says,
"I can see the future, and the outcome is bleak."
The DM clarifies that no, he cannot see the future.
"Oh, but I can,"
Malus says with a weird grin on his face.
"This won't end well."
We sneak into the yard. The bard lags behind. Then he gets spotted by a guard but quickly dispatches him. All goes according to plan, but there is one big problem. A guard is watching all the boxes we're meant to hide in. That's when he turns to the bard, and in Lord of the Rings fashion, he says, "Toss me." He hurls the barbarian at the guard. A flying tornado of a gnome flies at the guard, who is split in half. We sneak into boxes and prepare for freedom. All except Malus. He describes himself drinking the guard's blood. "We don't have time for this, Malus," the bard says.
"They would be foolish to stop me. I feed on weaklings who forfeit their lives."
"Would you stop being an edgelord for 1 second?" Barbarian says, more annoyed than ever.
"I'm not an edgelord. It's what my character would do."
He gets inside the box. He then describes his character grunting in pain.
"Ugh, the visions. They're coming back."
"Oh, shut up," says the DM.
"I see it now. The reason this plan is doomed to fail."
Nobody responds. The DM describes the party feeling their boxes getting lifted up and marched over to the wagon, to freedom. Out of character, Malus says to everybody at the table,
"You all better apologize for teaming up on me and calling me an edgelord, or I'll get us all caught."
Nope, this is where you kick him out immediately. Nobody likes him. You would lose no goodwill by getting rid of him. He's just a bad player. Of course, they won't, but to the people watching this video, if a player says he's gonna throw the game, throw him out the door. There's no reason to keep him around at that point. Everybody stares at Malus. "Nope," Barbarian says. "You won't do that. You're going to relax, and we're gonna finish this session." A grin cracks on Malus's face.
"I jump out of the box. Chaos will reign."
Everybody rolls initiative. The first person to get hit is Malus's character, who immediately denies it ever happens, saying that his armor reappeared, returning to its master. At this point, the DM just kinda checks out. He just ignores Malus. After a couple rounds pass by, Malus notices that the DM never addressed him for his turn. He calls it out, whining the whole time. The DM doesn't acknowledge Malus, the game keeps moving. Malus then, in character, starts talking about his backstory in between rounds of combat. Barbarian swings his axe, Malus talks about his dead parents again. Bard buffs the party, Malus talks about the demon inside of him. It goes on and on. I'm just imagining a huge battle breaking out and a dwarf clad in edgelord armor just stands in the middle of the fight trauma dumping with so much toxicity. that everyone straight up ignores him. They don't want his toxic blood to stain their weapons, so the fight just forms a wide circle around him. I guess you could say his behavior is repulsive. I'll see myself out. The guards gain the upper hand in the battle as the party wears down. I don't want to have to use this, but I have no other choice, the druid says, grabbing a horn. She blows into it, and a dragon flies into the prison yard, burning it to the ground. That creates a distraction. The party finishes off the guards and prepares their escape.
Wait, druid, I'm challenge you to a duel.
Everybody stares at him, but druid accepts. To the death. When your character dies, he's gone, druid says. They both accept the terms. It was a very close battle, but in the end, Malus won, fair and square. He prepared the coup de grace when Barbarian steps in. He uses a reckless attack and strikes Malus down last second.
Well, that's not fair. That's against the rules.
I never agreed to anything. Looks like your character's dead. The bard begins picking up druid, while Barbarian picks off Malus.
DM, stop him! He's killing me!
The DM continues ignoring him, and that's how he died. Malus gets red in the face and freaks out.
Ever since the beginning, everybody ganged up on me. It's not fair. I can't do anything cool, but Barbarian gets to accuse me of being an edgelord and amog all over the group without any consequences. And the DM gets to take away everything that makes my character cool.
I had to look this up, but apparently AMOG stands for Alpha Male of Group. It's supposedly an incel term to mean charismatic strongman who takes a leadership role. Honestly, if that's what it means, then AMOGs are pretty cool guys. I've never met one I didn't like. That's a funny thing I learned, by the way. When I was young like you, the stereotype used to be that jocks were empty-headed jerks and bullies. I don't know what happened, but now all the gym bros are the real, down-to-earth, intelligent, kind people. In fact, I have yet to meet a gym bro who's genuinely a dumb bully. But I'm getting off topic. Let's finish the story. He continues babbling, his face and eyes getting redder by the second. I think I saw a tear roll down his face when Barbarian stands up, grabs me and Malus by the shoulders, lifts us up, and gently, but firmly, pushes us out of the house. I didn't even do anything. I get them being mad at Malus, but why me? I could have been harder on him, but Bard didn't say anything and he didn't get kicked out. I, just like the Bard, quietly let my turns pass and engaged in light roleplay. They also kicked me out of their group text and blocked me. If anyone from the group sees this, I'm sorry if I did anything. If you want to invite me back, I would love to join you again. Something's a bit fishy. There are only 3 real outcomes here. 1, it was a case of guilt by association. 2, OP was being annoying but left it out. I'm not necessarily inclined to believe that. I don't think that OP would have time to be annoying given the way Malus was acting. Or 3, maybe the most likely outcome, Barbarian probably thought OP and Malus were friends. That's probably it if I had to bet money. Lastly, I just bought the keys from the Golden Vault adventure to run for my group. If any of you have advice to give a first timer at that, then please do let me know in the comments. Till next time.